Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going over my first plays in the month of March. This has been a series that I've been doing, and one way it encourages me to get these games to the table, plus it also gives me a chance to give my first impressions of these different games. Some of these games I played more than others, and I'll start with the ones that I played the most in the month of March and work my way down to the ones that I played the least. And this month I was also able to play a few games at a convention, and so I have a few that I only got to play one time because of that, but I'll be going over those as we get to the end of this list. Let's go ahead and jump right on into the one I've played the most, and it's a solo game called Warp's Edge. I played this game 9 times in the month of March, and I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. This game here is a bag building game where you are going to be putting various tokens into a bag. And you've got some basic tokens that you're going to start out with that have this white edge around them. And you're going to be buying new tokens as well as earning tokens by defeating different ships along the way. And you're trying to take out a mothership. And you've got these different motherships that you can face off against, starting with very easy ones, working your way up to harder ones. You've got different ships that you can choose to use. They're going to have different power abilities that you're going to be buying up and earning throughout the game that go into your bag. You can choose a ship based on the power abilities as well as its own ability it's going to be able to do. There's different shielding and how much shielding one has and how much the hull can be attacked. And each time you are going to be assigning these different ships to the different ships to be able to stun them by assigning either a laser or an evade token. But if you don't stun anything that round, then you are going to take attacks from those ships, and those shielding will go down. Whenever your shielding goes down, you're also going to have to discard tokens at the end of that, or when your shield goes down, if you have them, discard from your discarded tokens pool. And so you're going to be losing chips, and you want to have as many chips as you can in the bag because the amount of chips you have determine how long you'll be able to go before the end of the round. There's only 4 rounds for you to be able to defeat the mothership in that time. And so you want to have as many things in your bag as possible to delay that. But you also want stronger things in there as well so that you'll be able to take out the different ships and the mothership that way. I really enjoy this. There's a lot of different variability between the different ships, some different skills that you're going to be earning along the way, different types of tokens that you're going to be using. It's going to change up depending on which ship you're using. I've enjoyed it so much so far. I've played it 9 times, and I'm looking forward to getting it to the table more often. I even have the Anomalies expansion, which I'm looking forward to getting into. I did play with one of the ships there from that expansion, but I want to look forward to getting into using the actual expansion materials, the anomalies themselves, and seeing how those change up the game, as well as there's a new ship, that mothership that you're going to be going against too. And so that is Warp's Edge. Give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next game on my list is The Lord of the Rings adventure book. This is similar to the Princess Bride adventure book, which I've played in the past, as well as the Wizard of Oz adventure book, which I've gotten one play of that. That's before I started doing these videos. I may go ahead and bring that up at some point when I actually play it a little bit more fully. But anyway, Lord of the Rings, the adventure book, I played it 8 times in the month of March. And I'm going to give it, I'm having trouble deciding because I have some parts of this game that gave me a little bit of a bad taste, as well as others that I enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead and lean between a 6.5 or possibly a 7 out of 10 for this game. And so this game is more difficult than the Princess Bride one. I found the Princess Bride adventure book to be very easy, whereas this one ramps things up a bit. There's also 8 games in this that you have to get through to actually fully win the campaign, whereas the Princess Bride only had 6. And there's an extra mechanism in this game where you have the ring. You can use the cards that have the ring on them as wilds, but whenever you use that card or discard those cards, you are going to increase in the corruption track that you've got going on there. And if you ever get all the way to 16 through the course of the entire campaign, you're going to lose the campaign. And so you have to be very careful how much you're using those rings. You can use them less than 2 times per game average over the course of the game. And something else that kind of makes things even tougher with that is that if you use the corruption by using those rings in a game and then you lose that game, you actually still keep that corruption that you've got on there. And so you could use 3 or 4 of that trying to win that game, and all of a sudden you lose the game. You still have that raise up there for that when you try and complete it again. And so I'm not really sure I like that. And another thing about this game is there are certain of the levels that really felt you had to luck into the win. You had to have certain cards come up as far as the event cards go in a certain order, or if too many of the one came up, you were going to lose automatically. And so I didn't like that as much as the luck there that was focused on in that, as well as the cards that you drew in that round had to be very specifically lucky. One nice thing about these adventure book games, though, is you are playing actually on the book. You're going to open it up and you're going to put your characters out there, and you are going to be moving them across this book, and you're going to be trying to complete these different challenges over here by the time that the deck runs out. And so I really enjoyed this concept of these adventure books. It is a very much lighter game, and it's a cooperative game where you are moving all the characters around together. You have multiple characters, but no character is your character in this game. And you can move up to 2 characters at the beginning of your turn. You can either move one character twice or both characters once. And so you're able to make that movement at the beginning of your turn, and then you can spend cards to make extra movement if you need to, but then you're also going to be spending those cards with certain symbols on them to complete the tasks. I really do enjoy the concept of these adventure book games. I really wish that there's a little bit less luck involved in some of the scenarios in this one. But I got to play it a few more times to figure out how I really feel overall about this game. I do enjoy the concept and have enjoyed playing it a decent bit. The next game I want to bring up is Life of the Amazonia. And this game is quickly becoming one of my favorite games. It's been compared to Cascadia. Before we get into all that, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that I played it 3 times in the month of March, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. So this is another bag building game where you are getting these tokens into your bag that you're going to be able to use to pay for different things throughout the game. You're going to be going up different tracks that are going to give you points at the end of the game for how far you got up those tracks, as well as on one of the tracks you're going to be getting a tree, on another track you are going to be getting a flower to go in the water area, and another track you are going to be getting these hex tiles to be able to play. You've also got these different cards that are going to give you goals for the end of the game or instant abilities that you can pay for with water. All kinds of different things going on, but the meat of the game is that you are getting these tiles down, and on those tiles you are placing different animals that are going to score in different ways depending on different patterns or what they need to be next to or what's in their area. Each one has different things that they are going after, as well as there are 4 different types for each animal as to how they're going to score. So there's a lot of variability just from that right there, as well as you start thinking about all the other different things that you can focus on in the game. I think this is going to be one that's going to last for quite a while, and the reason why that it gets compared to Cascadia is that way that you're scoring those animals in the game based on what they are around different things. The solo mode in this I tried one time, and I really enjoyed it. Of course, it was the very basic first scenario that gets you in there. I wound up getting a bronze. I was 5 points away from getting silver. So basically, you're getting in the solo mode these different scenarios that you have to complete. And if you complete the scenario, then you will score based on your points that you got. And each scenario has different points that it relies on for different scores. You can either get bronze, silver, or gold if you complete the scenario and get at least that minimum amount there. I was so close to getting silver in the one game that I played, and then I was looking through the different scenarios, and it's so cool, the different ways for the solo puzzle of trying to figure out how to get these different scenarios accomplished. And so I'm really looking forward to playing this one solo, but I also really enjoy it multiplayer. I don't want to kind of ruin the multiplayer for myself by playing it too much solo, so we'll see how much I get this played solo, but I really want to get it back to the table, multiplayer especially, to be able to play some more with my friends. And so that is Life of the Amazonia. Really enjoyed it, giving it a 9 out of 10. It's probably going to be pretty high up in my 2023 top 10 games list I hope to do soon. So be looking forward to that. And the next one on my list is Lost Cities. I had previously played Lost Cities, the board game, which is a bigger game than this. This is the card game version that came out first. The board game plays up to 4 players. But they have some very similar things to them. I played this version here for the first time in March, and I played it 3 times. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It's a very simple card game where you are getting a hand of cards, and then you are going to be playing a card and then getting a new card. And that's as simple as the gameplay itself is as far as what you do on your turn. You play a card into one of your different areas that based on the color of the card, and you are trying to play them in order from lowest to highest. You can't play a card if it's lower than a card you've already played in that color. And so you have to try and hold off playing the higher numbers until you've gotten the lower numbers played. You also have this card that you can play, which is kind of a gamble to play it because you're hoping to get more in that area because it's going to double your points. But also, if you don't get at least 20 points scored, which points are basically the number that's on the different cards, you add them all up. If you don't get at least 20 points, you're going to actually lose points, and those betting cards there are actually going to double the amount that you lose, or they will double the amount that you win. If you get a couple of them, then you're going to triple your score. If you get 4 of them, you're going to quadruple it, and so on and so forth. And so you want to get those in first on ones that you think you're going to be able to score a lot. And you don't have to play a card into different areas if you don't want to. In fact, one of the strategies here is to leave some of them unplayed, some of the colors unplayed, because if you don't play at least one card in the area, then you won't score any points, negative or positive, for that area. And so you want to try and judge what you're going to be able to score. And but once you start, if you don't get at least 20 points worth in there, you're going to lose points. Another thing you can do on your turn is you can, instead of playing a card, discard a card and then draw up, and strategically trying to figure out when you want to do that, as well as keep an eye on what your opponent wants, because if you discard a card that's going to be good for them, they're going to grab that right up and be able to play it later on into an area that they are working on. So you have to be careful about that as well when you're discarding cards. It's got a nice little puzzle to it as far as what you're going to do, a little bit of push your luck there involved. And so I really enjoy this game for a light, quick 2-player game. And I also enjoy the 4-player version as well. Although I've only played that one once, we need to get it back to the table at some point. And then the next one on my list, we played 2 times in the month of March. And it's really heavy. Here comes Ticket to Ride Legacy. And this game here, I enjoy Ticket to Ride, and this one adds that legacy element. And I really oftentimes do enjoy the legacy elements that get added to games. And in this game, you're going to, as legacy games go, be adding things throughout the game. I don't want to give too much away in this game, but I've enjoyed what it brings to the table as far as the legacy elements go. It does play so far very similarly to the original Ticket to Ride, but you are going to be getting things along the way that are going to change things up. The board game also starts out kind of small at the beginning as to what you're going to be able to do, but they're going to be adding in more tiles later on. Haven't gotten to that part yet. I just know that it's coming at some point in the future. And so I'm looking forward to adding those. And you also start out with kind of a smaller amount of trains at the beginning. You're going to be adding in more trains as you go, making the games a little bit longer and more involved as you go along. There's different goals here for you to focus on in addition to the general routes that you have to focus on normally in games. And so I love this. Is adding quite a bit to the original style of Ticket to Ride. I look forward to seeing what else gets added to this. Playing this with our family. We got one player that's swapping out, and one of my daughters really enjoys Ticket to Ride and wants to play all the way through, and the other ones want to mix in and out. So we got four players in a sense playing, but 5 of us total kind of swapping in and out there. And so looking forward to getting this game to the table more. I've gotten 2 so far, and I'm rating it a 9 out of 10 so far. That may go up as we get to experience more things, but I feel that's a pretty good base score at this point with the first 2 games being played. And the next one on my list is Namiji. I'm going to get these out of the way a little bit. Don't know where exactly I'm going to put this. Let's just go ahead and do this, have that kind of sticking out a little bit there. So here's Namiji. This is a successor to Tokaido, and it's got a very similar kind of play as Tokaido. We only played this one one time in the month of March, and so we've only had one play of it so far. I only played Tokaido once as well. This game has a lot of the same feel to Tokaido. You're basically going around this board, and you can choose how far you want to go. But once you go so far, then everybody else is going to have the opportunity to go behind you until they catch up and pass you. And so you don't want to go too far out. For one, you won't get as many actions done before you hit to the next area, as well as everybody else is going to get more actions if you go too far out. But you do want to strategically jump to the places that you need the most to be able to score. And you also in this game have this idea of fishing, where you're trying to get the same type or same color in columns or rows. And so you're trying to get that done like that. You can't perfectly do that, of course, in both columns and rows, but you do what you can to try and score the most there. And the further out on the row or column you go, they're going to be worth even more points. So you want that last column and that last row to especially score points compared to the middle ones and all that. And so nice, kind of got a lot going on. You're also trying to get these different images put together. You get points for each one of this image that you score, and if you get all of them, you're going to get a bonus if you get it before everybody else. And so so many different things to focus in on in this game, but you want to do it all, but you can't do it all. You kind of have to pick and choose where you're going to score your points from. So I enjoyed our first play of Namiji, and I'm going to rate Namiji a 7 out of 10. Another game that we played one time in the month of March is Targi, and this is a 2-player game. It's a classic game that I've heard a lot about, but I hadn't really gotten and played until this month. Enjoyed it. It's got this kind of, you're really going head-to-head with the other player in that you are putting a token down on this board, and wherever you put it down, they can't go across from you. And so they're going to put their token down, and you're kind of blocking each other from different areas while also claiming the areas that you are putting your token on, as well as the intersection between your tokens. And so you are going to be trying to get goods and resources to be able to pay, to accomplish various things throughout the game to get the most points by getting these different cards played into your area and different other things that you're going to go on and do. There's one area where you can go and you can trade in resources just to get points for the resources you're trading in. You also have to be mindful as the piece that's moving along gets to the different ends. You're going to have to be able to pay for the raid that's going to happen at that time, unless you have a card, which I actually had played in, which allowed me to ignore the raids, which is a really handy card there. You have to be mindful of that, as well as wherever it's going to move along the line, you're not going to be able to go there that round. So there's quite a bit going on in what's overall a pretty simple game, but a lot of strategy that goes into this game. And so that is Targi, and I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. And so let's go ahead and get into some of the games that I play that I don't own. First one being Evacuation, which is a game that I played at a friend's house. And I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I played it one time in the month of March. And it's a game where you're basically evacuating Earth and trying to resettle into a new planet. And as you're leaving Earth, the resources that are on Earth are going to dwindle. You're not going to have as many resources that you can use from that side. And you're going to have more and more resources that are going to come up on the other side, the new planet, as you start to settle that planet. And so you have to strategically figure out when you want to move things away from the original planet and when you want to start selling things on the new planet, so that you're not depleting your resources too quickly on Earth and you're not getting enough stuff over to the new planet to use there. And you have ships that you're going to be moving from one place to the other. It's going to cost you energy to be able to do that. And you can only hold so many things. You have to buy the ships that you're going to be using to do that. And they all have different things that they're able to take with them. And so you have to be very strategic in which ships you're going to buy and how you're going to get things over. And then you have to spend energy to get your ship back in order to reuse that ship in the future. And there's 2 different modes of play for Evacuation. We played the race mode, which is recommended for your first time. And there it's whoever manages to get all their tracks up to a certain degree is going to win the game. And if nobody gets it up by the end of the 4th round, then it's whoever is able to get the furthest along all those tracks is going to win the game. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of race to win type games, and so I think I prefer actually the victory point game, but I haven't really looked into how that plays as much, and of course have not played that yet. We only played the race, but I did enjoy Evacuation. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. And that is Evacuation. And then the 3 games that we played at the convention that we went to, not really a convention, but a game meetup that we went to, are the next one we're going to talk about. And so the first one of those games is Raw, which I played one time at that convention. I'm kind of between a 7 and a 7.5, kind of leaning back down towards the 7 out of 10 for this game. It was a lot of fun. Basically, you are bidding on these different tiles that you're going to be able to use. We've got some set collection going on there with some of the tiles. Some tiles you want to get so you don't get negative points, and some you want to have the most of so you can get the points for those. There's a lot of different tiles that are going to give you different abilities to score points, and you have to figure out what's going to be best for you. And you have 3 different bids that you can make in a round, and so you're going to have to strategically decide when you want to bid, and it goes around once when the bidding starts, and you bid and you take all the tiles that are currently in the row there. And so as more tiles come up, it becomes more likely that somebody's going to want to bid on that. When somebody wants to bid, they go raw, and then you bid on those tiles, and you have to decide, okay, is this something that's going to be worthwhile for me to bid on now, or do I want to save my bids for later? And there's a little bit of a way you can game the system a bit. If you are one that doesn't bid early on stuff, you can hold off on all of your bids until you're the last person with bids, and you can really kind of run the system and get 6 tiles each time, unless you wind up, the game ends because too many of these raw tokens come out that basically force a bid to happen. But whenever that happens, you also go up on the track there, and if it gets to the end of the track before you've bid, you can choose whether you want to continue with the auction when that happens, or if you just want to simply keep going. And so you kind of take a risk a little bit there if you let that keep going, and you might not get it all 3 bids in, but if you are the last one, you can kind of game that system a little bit at least there if you're lucky enough for that not to come out. So there's a little bit of a gaming the system. That's why I kind of give it a little bit lower of a rating here because of that. But I did enjoy the bidding system in this game, that you just have those 3 different tokens that you can use. And whenever you use those tokens, you'll get one that's in the board back as well. So you have different bidding abilities next turn. Sometimes you may want to win a bid so you can get a better bid token. And so there's a lot going on in this game, a lot to focus on. And so I did enjoy it. I'm going to give it a 7 to maybe a 7.5 out of 10. And then we played Fractured Sky. I had one play of this game, and I'm rating it as 7.5 out of 10. It's a game that really I struggled the whole game to feel how to really play well in the game. You are taking these ships to these different areas where you are going to try and settle the area so that you can get resources. You get more resources if you put down these, I can't remember what they're called now, but you put those down, and the market gives you extra resources there. I think it's actually called Marketplace. And then you also have others that are these stronghold type things that are going to give you extra power in those areas. And so you're trying to get those things down and built in those different areas. And you're also trying, the goal of the game is to get the most of these crystals, these fractured crystal things. And there's one place every round that if you have the highest bid token on that area, because your ships that you're putting down have a secret number on them, if you have the highest bid in the area, you win that token. There's also some areas where it's unknown, and you can go and look to see what that place is by spending some gold to go do that. And so you'll know where that secret token is, and then you're going to get more and more secret tokens as the game goes on. You get 1 the first round, 2 the second round, 3, and so forth. And so you kind of spread yourself out if you want to find out multiples of those. But you only have 3 ships that you're able to put out anyway. And then when you put your ship out, you may know that that's what is the place that you're going to get one of those tokens. But how high do you bid on that? How high do you think others that are going to find out that that's the right place are going to bid? Especially that one that's public knowledge. And you got different goals that you're going to be going for throughout the game as well. And so there's a lot going on in this game, and I just never really grasped the strategy in this game, but I still enjoyed playing it, and it's got a great production quality to it as well. So even though I lost terribly, I still enjoyed playing the game. That's a sign of a good game to me. If I can lose and still really have fun with it, and lose terribly and still have fun with it, I think that's a good game right there. So I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. And the final game that I played for the first time in the month of March is Foundations of Rome. I got one play of that, and I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. This is a game I've been looking forward to trying. It's got a great table presence, and it's got polyomino style almost. It's not exactly polyomino style, but you got these different sizes and shapes of buildings that you're going to be placing out. Before you can place your buildings out, though, you have to first claim the land, and you're going to be buying from this auction row, not really an auction row, but you got this row of cards that are going to be sliding down. They're going to get cheaper the longer they're out there. And so if you kind of have this push and pull, do I wait for that deed that I want to land that really goes well with others that I'm trying to get in there, or and pay less, or do I spend a whole bunch to make sure that I get that so nobody else grabs that up? Because once you've bought the deed to a place, you own that. Nobody else can build there. And so you want to get a few of those lined up together so that you can get some of those bigger buildings out. And as you get population buildings in, you're going to be able to get points at the end of each round for having the highest population. And then you're going to also have these different buildings that are going to give you more money each time you take a step to do your money earning turn. Because you can either buy a deed on your turn, or you can place a building on your turn, or you can take an income turn to just get more income based on what your income value is at the time, plus a base value there. And so, you get some of these buildings that are going to give you money, you get some to give you population, and then ultimately you're trying to be able to place these civic buildings into places where they're going to score based on things that are around them on the board, both between things that you put down and what others put down. So you have to be careful about how you help others out with the things that you place. Make sure that that person that's got their civic building down there that's going to give them for population around them, you're not giving them more population there to get even more end game points. You also have certain wonders that are put out there that you are going to be able to focus on, these big buildings that get out there and get you points and different other benefits. And so everybody's going to be vying for those. You have your own personal buildings for all these different buildings that you're going to get out, but then you're all vying for these large monument buildings together, and whoever can first claim the building and wants to can go ahead and get that and put it down. And so there's a lot going on in this game. I really enjoyed the game. It's my style of game, really, when you've got these ideas of the spatial kind of putting things down, as well as just the focusing on the resources and all those types of things that you need. And I actually really enjoyed the way that the market row works, that push and pull, like I said, between do I get it now for expensive, or do I hold out and hope somebody doesn't beat me to it later? And of course, if you don't have the money, you have to take that income turn if it's costing a lot right now. And so you have to take that income turn and hope that it's still there when you come. There's a lot of great things to Foundations of Rome. I really enjoyed it, giving it a 9 out of 10. So these are all the games that I played for the first time in the month of March. Let me know some of the games you've been playing and what you think of some of these games. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's giving you some idea about these different games, and I will catch you in the next one.